Hi everyone, welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement. On today's video, we're going to do some quick fixing of Commodore 64 boards. These are the ones that Desi donated to me when he gave me that Amiga 1000 out in Lincoln City, Oregon. So let's get right to the video. So let me do a quick diagnosis of these on camera and see which ones are working and which ones aren't. All right, first 64. All the ones I got are 25407 boards, which are the ones I don't exactly love just because they don't have the sharpest video output. What's nice about this one though is it does have a lot of socketed ICs, except for the 6526s. All these other main ones are in sockets, which will make troubleshooting far easier because say one of the ROMs is bad or PLA or whatever, we can easily swap that out. Taking a look at the RAM though, all of it's Fujitsu, but there are two other chips that have been swapped out at some point. So this board has been serviced. Still has the RF shield on the back, so whoever did the service reinstalled this. And then some of the logic chips like this one here and here are the Moss branded ones, which are especially prone to failure as well. But at least this doesn't have the empty RAM, which is pretty much a guaranteed there's going to be at least one of those that's bad. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the SID and I'm going to take out the PLA out of this board. And I'll also take out this VIC chip as well. And that way if there's something wrong with the 12-volt regulator and we power this up, it will not damage these chips because both the SID and the VIC2 chip on these older boards take the 12-volt input. And I have had more than once that the 12-volt regulator went bad and sent something like 13, 14 volts into these chips and killed both of them. So I like to check that before we do anything else. So I'll just pop those out. All right, let's test these voltages. So this regulator right here is the 5-volt one, 4.96 is perfect. And the 12 volts right here, 11.7. So we're getting a little bit under, but that's totally fine as long as it's not over. Okay, I'm just gonna deoxit these sockets and we're gonna reinstall the PLA and we're gonna reinstall the VIC2. PLA chip in, VIC2 chip in. Plugged in the video cable, let's turn this on, and we're getting a black screen. Okay, so that's, something, I guess. Let's quickly plug in the dead test cartridge, and let's see if we get anything flashing on the screen. Nothing, no flashing on the dead test cartridge on this particular computer. Let's do a quick check to make sure that the ICs are getting 5 volts, because like the PAL board, when the 12 volts is going to the VIC2, you get a video signal. You just don't get anything else. And I am getting 4.99 volts on the multimeter. Sorry, you can't see that. Oh, you know what? I was about to move this out of the way, and I think everyone was probably screaming at the screen. I didn't even put the CPU back in. Dead test won't do anything without the CPU. You need the PLA, the CPU, and the VIC2 chip, and all these support chips. You don't need the ROMs. You don't need the 6526s. You don't need the SID. The rest you do need. So let me reinsert the CPU in here. And let's try this again. Part 2, dead test is removed. Oh, and look at that. We're getting a picture. It works. This is seemingly a working 64, although I need to plug the diagnostic cartridge in and do a full test of that. I'll do that right now. Diagnostic harness is connected. I have the diagnostic cartridge installed, set to the regular test. I have speaker and video hooked up. Let's power this on. All right, well, everything looks all right, except interrupt is showing bad, which is implying one of these chips is bad, but the SID is definitely bad on this machine. It is not sounding right. It's making these loud popping noises. This could be a true 6526 failure, but other than the bad SID, this machine probably will work perfectly in software and games. So I'm going to put an X on the SID chip. That's really unfortunate. The PLA, though, is a good one, and so is the VIC2, so I'll check mark that. The CPU is working as well, as are these 3 ROM chips. It's testing the audio right now, and I do hear a little bit of it, but it's popping really badly, and I just faintly hear the sound. I will test this SID in another machine before I declare it totally dead, but in almost all certainty, this SID chip has died. All right, here is the next board, and it's got the horrible cardboard. Goodbye for that one. Okay, now this board is pretty awesome. This is also a 25407, but all of these ICs are in sockets. everything. It also has an R8 VIC2, which are some of the later ones, which are pretty good. This stuff is all dated from 1984. There are 2 RAM chips in a socket. The rest of the RAM chips are Oki. These 2 are TI, so I guess there's some service that's been done. There's a MOS logic chip here in a socket. Not a great thing. RF shield is installed on this, so whoever did some work on here to install these sockets has obviously put that back. Although, you know, maybe this was done in the factory before it even left Commodore. Who knows? The board is really dirty. It's missing the cover on the RF modulator. And let's just do what I did in the last one. I'm going to yank out the SID and I'm going to yank out the VIC2 chip. Let's see if I can get this out with the chip puller. Nice. Okay, you guys know the drill. Quick voltage test. 12.05, that's fine. 5.02 is also fine. And we're getting kind of low on 4.78 on the 5-volt rail, which is surprising because my power supply gives out about 5.2 volts before it gets to the computer. So maybe there's a bad connection here on the power switch or this power connector. That's quite possible. I'll turn this off and on a few times. Yeah, it's a little bit higher now. Look, 4.87 volts now. So that could be bad. Let me do some Deoxit. This stuff is really dirty, so this is just a good chance there's just a bad connection happening here in the switch or in the power connector. Just plug this in and out a few times. All right, let's see if that made any difference at all. 4.92, look at that. We're making progress. I mean, that's honestly, it's probably good enough right now as it is. Just turn this off and on a few more times. Yeah, 4.92, that's fine. That's enough voltage for this thing to work properly. All right, some Deoxit in the video socket here. And let's see if we get a signal. Black screen, black screen. Just gonna give the chips that are in here a little bit of a push. Try that again. It's getting nothing. I'm checking the VIC2 pins, make sure none are bent. There's a couple that are a little bent up, so it might have been making bad contact. So I'm just gonna straighten them up. Okay, let's see if that made any difference. None at all. So we're just getting a black screen. Let me just feel these chips. See if any of them are extra hot. VIC2 chip's hot, but that's normal. I mean, it's not hot yet, but it's getting there. It's warming up. Let's just see if any of these things are extra hot. Ooh. Yeah, one of these was really hot. Yeah. This RAM chip here. Ooh, that RAM chip is burning hot. So that chip is bad right there. I'm going to put a little mark on there because I bet you there's something wrong with that chip. I put the dead test cartridge in. Let's turn this on and see if I get any flashing. No flashing, but you know what? When you have a bad chip like this, it could easily be bringing down the entire address bus. It could be bringing down the data bus, and that will prevent the dead test cartridge from working at all. So I'm going to write on here Desi, and I'm going to write black screen. And let's move on to the next board. All right, this one is actually in the bottom case of a 64. The top was missing, and so was the cover for the VIC here. So let's just yank this shield off of here. This machine is quite dirty inside here. It looks like something poured on top of it maybe, or a lot of moisture. There's sort of rust on the RF shield up on the top part, but where this was laying on it, there is no rust. There's one motherboard out and one very dirty RF shield out, which is going straight into the trash can. Interesting. There's a pencil lead in the computer case here. It was actually longer and I just snapped it. But this is a little thin pencil lead from a mechanical pencil. Okay, here's the motherboard. Has the RF shield on the back. It's the same 25407. Now this motherboard, unlike that last one, has a VIC2 in a socket and nothing else in a socket. That is extremely rude. If you have a 64 like this, that makes troubleshooting really difficult. You can't even take the SID out to do any kind of troubleshooting in case you might destroy it with a bad voltage regulator. Well, I'm going to take the VIC2 chip out first. Power this on. Let's quickly go for the 12 volts. 11.9, good, we're looking fine there. 5.04, we're good. And then the main 5-volt rail, 4.98. So yes, all the voltage rails look perfect. Pop that back in. And kind of like the last one, we're just getting a black screen too. But let me just turn this on again and I will do the quick temperature test on the chips. Looking for ones that are extra hot. You can use a thermal camera to do this, but you can also just use your fingers. So far, everything is fine. Let's put this cartridge in, which is configured for dead test. Okay, we're getting a flash. So that means at least something's going on. It's flashing too. Okay, really quickly, I have my test bench with the ZIF sockets. Let's pull a RAM chip off of this, one that I know is good, this one here. Let's try piggybacking this on top of the RAM chip that I think is bad, which is this one right here. Hold it with my finger, turn this on. Still getting a flashing. 2 flashes as well still. So a quick check of the dead test manual, and 2 flashes says it's U24. So that's actually this chip right here. I had it on the wrong one. U24 is down there, so let's put this on here and do the piggyback test again. Turn on the power. Aha, we're getting differences. We're getting some weird flashing. Try that again. I'll use my right hand. Still getting the same 2 flashes. I don't know what those color flashes are. It's probably a bad connection. I think these chips have something to do with the color RAM or something like that. Now, that doesn't mean that that's not a bad chip. That could still be a bad RAM chip. It's just that doing the piggyback method just works maybe half the time at most. I've had all sorts of issues like that where piggyback did not work, but you can be lucky and it can work, and that can help you identify very quickly if it is a bad chip. And before I put this away, I'm going to pull this VIC back out again. And on the other motherboard here, I'm going to pull this PLA out. I'm going to pull the CPU off. This is one that just says black screen. But on this first board, the SID was acting funny, so let's pull the SID out. And I'm just going to test all of these chips on my ZIF board, just to double check for sure any failure modes. All right, so we have the CPU, we have the VIC2 chip, we have a PLA chip, and we have the SID. This is the one that was acting very weird with the weird sounds. And let's reinstall that RAM chip that I was using for piggyback testing. All right, and let's turn this on and see what happens. We should be getting the basic screen, and we are not. So something here is faulty. Let's first swap out this VIC2 with one that I know is working well. See if that made a difference. Aha! So this VIC2 is bad. This is an R8. I'm just quickly checking to make sure all the pins are straight, and they are. Try this one more time. Oh, okay, it's working. So I just had bad contact. Okay, good. Before I ruled out that that thing was bad. Okay, so right off the bat, we know the CPU is good. We know this PLA is good. We know the VIC2 is good, although it might have dirty pins. And unfortunately, it was the SID in one of those motherboards, and it is bad. Getting that popping noise again on this one too, which is very, very similar to the other one. This one here, which came in the other board, which had the exact same fault. And yep, the other one, you hear that popping. I can just hear the tones of the different channels. So just to show everyone this machine is not problematic, I have a Swin SID here, which is a SID replacement. Not a very good one, but it's all I got, and it makes that test tone when you first turn it on. The Swin SID uses a microcontroller to basically emulate the SID chip, and it's a reasonable approximation, but it really isn't great either. And there it is. That's how the diagnostic test should sound as it goes through the different waveforms on the different channels and the noise channel. So yeah, this board is definitely working. The Swin SID sounds as it does. All right, I went back to the socketed board. This has all the sockets. This is one where the RAM chip was really hot. I've removed the RF shield and I installed a socket there, taking out that RAM chip. So this is a known good RAM chip for my test board. Let's put that in, turn the computer on. And we're still getting the black screen. I'm going to pull the ROM chips out of the board. Sometimes when a chip's been in a long time, it's kind of hard to get it out with the good chip puller, the one I like here. In that case, a good chip lifter like this really comes in handy. Sometimes they're just so stuck in those sockets. All right, I have dead test in, ROMs are out. Let's see what happens here. Still not working, so I'm taking the VIC2 out. Deoxit the socket. I don't know if this VIC2 is working for sure. So I'm going to take this one that we tested that was from the other board. We're going to put this in this socket. I know that's a good chip. I know this is a good CPU. I know this is a good PLA. Might have to take these two 6526s out. Still getting the black screen. Oh wow, so this 6526, the legs are cut on this and they're all crooked and wobbly on here. So this chip was on a board and it was desoldered. And I don't know if this socket was installed. We'll check in a second on the underside. And this one, same thing. It's kind of a mess. Let's leave those out. We'll turn this on again. And we're still getting nothing. So let's just take a quick look underneath this board. I'm going to say all the sockets along the top row are original, so that these two CIA chips must have come off a different board, because this is definitely not reworked. The two RAM chips that were originally in a socket, yeah, there's a lot of flux residue, so this was done after the fact. And then this was the RAM chip I just put in right here. The board's really in good shape either. I don't see anything bad, but it never hurts to do a quick continuity check along these rows of chips. So let's just quickly check these reworked sockets. So that's good. Whoever did this rework originally on these sockets did a good job, and there are no faults there. This chip, the 257, which is in a socket, that looks original or factory, or whoever did the rework cleaned that up so well I can't even tell that that's not original. So I wonder if that just failed when this board was being made and they put that in a socket. Okay, so with the ZIF board here, I wanted to see if this RAM chip, which I just removed out of this board, is actually bad. So let's pop it in this socket here. See what happens when I turn it on. Oh yeah, it's bad. I don't have a cartridge in here. It should just go straight to the blue basic screen and we're getting nothing. In fact, when this is on here, I don't even get the ding of the SID chip. While I'm at it, let's test these other two chips that are on this board that are in sockets already. Just make sure that these are good. That one is good. That one is good as well. Okay, so we're back to this board. I powered it up. You know what? That RAM chip there, another Oki chip, is burning hot now. So we got another bad chip. Let me desolder that. Okay, installed a socket. Here's the bad Oki chip. Well, I think the bad one. And I have another RAM chip. Let's install this in my new socket. There we go. And let's turn it on. Oh, and check that out. Let's let it run through the RAM test, but it seems to be working. All right, RAM test has passed. Let me repopulate this with all of its original chips and see if this computer is now fixed. I put all the original chips back in. I'm on the normal diagnostic, not dead test, and we're not getting any picture. I think first thing I'm going to do with dead test is take these ROM chips back out. Okay, let's see what happens with the ROMs out of the machine. And no joy, it's still not working. Well, let's try to get this back to a working state with the dead test at least. So, okay, here we go. Okay, so we're working. So the last two chips I just pulled out were the 6526 chips. So I'm going to assume that one of those is bad. So I'm going to repopulate everything except for these two chips, and we're going to turn it on and see if it goes to basic. It's a lot faster than testing with the dead test. Okay, let's see if we get into basic at this point. Okay, we're getting basic, no flashing cursor, which is fine. That's because these 6526s are not in there. So one of these two 6526 chips is bad. Let's just put one of them in, see what happens. Okay, that one is in. Black screen. So at least that chip is cactus. Swap in the other one. All right. 6526. What's gonna happen? Working, no working. Oh, that one's good. So this chip is definitely bad. Big old X on there. It wasn't getting hot or warm, but it was keeping it from working. If I plug this into that other socket I'll at least have a keyboard we can test with. Okay, we got a flashing cursor. So I'm going to say that these ROM chips are all good. So I'll put check marks on them. I know this VIC-2 is good. So I'll put a check mark on that. CPU is clearly working. Oh, that already has a check mark. I won't put a check mark on this 6526 until we do the diagnostic cartridge. So let's do that right now. I borrowed a 6526 off my Ziff machine, which I know is a good chip. Okay, moment of truth. Here we go. Turn this on. There we go. We got the diagnostic screen with the harness plugged in. We should be getting a good test. Oh, I actually have no SID in here, and I don't really have a working one. I guess I could. I'm just going to put this this bad SID in here. It has bad sound, but I bet you the paddles probably work, because if we don't have that in there, it will fail the diagnostic test because of the paddle signals. There we go. Everything is okay. This board is fully functional now. So this is what we had bad on this. One bad 6526. This kept the computer from turning on and booting at all. And two bad RAM chips that also prevented the computer from working whatsoever. All right, that's going to be it for part 1 of 2 parts of the Commodore 64s from Lincoln City's repair series. Part 2, which will be coming up soon, I'll get to the other boards and we'll try to fix those as well. But if you like this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. You can hit thumbs down. You can subscribe for more videos, because there'll be lots more in the future. And of course, put your comments and your suggestions down in the comment section below. I read every single one of them. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.